Introduction: Finding Stillness in the Storm. We live in a world that demands our constant attention. Every moment brings new pressures, unexpected challenges, and circumstances that seem beyond our grasp. Work deadlines loom. Relationships strain under the weight of misunderstanding. Life throws curveballs when we least expect them. In the face of all this chaos, most of us respond the same way. We struggle. We fight against reality. We desperately try to control what cannot be controlled, and in doing so, we exhaust ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Yet there exists a path through this wilderness, an ancient philosophy that has guided countless individuals toward genuine peace and unshakable resilience. This path is Stoicism, a practical wisdom that emerged from ancient Greece and Rome and remains profoundly relevant to our modern lives. Unlike many philosophical systems that remain abstract and theoretical, Stoicism offers concrete tools and principles that you can apply immediately to transform how you experience the world. The fundamental insight of Stoicism is beautifully simple, yet revolutionary. You do not control most of what happens to you, and this realization is actually your greatest superpower. The things you cannot control, other people's opinions, external events, the outcomes of situations, will inevitably come your way. But what you absolutely can control, your thoughts, your judgments, your responses, and your values, lies entirely within your domain. This distinction is the cornerstone upon which all Stoic wisdom rests. Throughout this exploration, we will journey through 12 essential Stoic lessons that address the core challenges of human existence. These are not abstract theories or impractical ideals. They are pragmatic principles forged through centuries of human experience, tested by philosophers, emperors, and ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. From learning to establish a firm purpose in life to mastering the art of accepting what you cannot change, each principle serves as a tool for building a stronger, more resilient you. By the time you finish this journey, you will understand not just the philosophy of Stoicism, but how to live it. You will possess the knowledge and practical strategies to cultivate genuine peace, regardless of external circumstances. You will learn to stand firm in your convictions, respond with wisdom to life's provocations, and navigate uncertainty with grace. Let us begin this transformative exploration together. Lesson 1. Establish a firm purpose. Imagine setting sail on a vast ocean without any sense of direction. You drift aimlessly, subject to every wind and current that crosses your path. There is no destination calling to you, no horizon worth moving toward. This is what life feels like for many people, a series of reactions to circumstances rather than a purposeful journey toward something meaningful. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, emphasized that having a firm purpose is essential to living well. He understood that difficulties reveal character, and the magnitude of difficulty is proportional to the glory of overcoming it. But this overcoming is only possible when you know what you are overcoming for. When you have a clear sense of purpose anchoring your decisions and actions, a firm purpose functions as a compass in life's tempestuous seas. It is not a vague aspiration or a distant dream. Rather, it is a deliberate choice about the kind of person you wish to become and the principles by which you will live. This requires deep, honest reflection. You must ask yourself fundamental questions. What do I truly value? What kind of person do I aspire to be? What principles matter so much to me that I would defend them even in the face of great difficulty? What legacy do I want to leave? These questions cannot be answered superficially. They demand that you dig beneath the surface noise of society's expectations, your family's hopes, and your own fleeting desires. True purpose emerges when you distinguish between what you think you should want and what you actually care about at the deepest level. Perhaps you discover that your authentic purpose involves helping others, creating something meaningful, pursuing knowledge, building strong relationships, or contributing to causes larger than yourself. Whatever your purpose, the process of discovering it requires honesty and courage. Once you have identified your firm purpose, it becomes your anchor during life's storms. Challenges will come. This is guaranteed. Projects will fail. People will disappoint you. Plans will crumble. But when you have a clear sense of purpose, these setbacks transform from catastrophes into mere steps along the path. The colossal mountain becomes a manageable climb. Your perspective shifts. The world around you seems to shrink in relative importance when measured against your core purpose. The practice of maintaining this purpose requires what the Stoics called diligence, a steadfast commitment to showing up every day, regardless of circumstances. It means continuing toward your goals even when progress is slow, when obstacles mount, and when you feel discouraged. It means maintaining your integrity when shortcuts tempt you. It means persevering through setbacks, knowing they are integral to the journey, rather than signs you should abandon your path. Consider how this works in practical terms. If your firm purpose involves becoming a person of integrity and wisdom, then when you face a situation where you could benefit by compromising your values, your purpose acts as a guide. It reminds you that what matters most is not the short-term gain, but the long-term character you are building. If your purpose centers on supporting your family, then even tedious work or delayed gratification becomes meaningful. You are serving something beyond yourself. Your firm purpose also protects you from the tyranny of others' opinions. When you know what truly matters to you, you become less susceptible to praise that contradicts your values and less devastated by criticism that misunderstands your intentions. You develop an internal compass that functions independently of external validation. This does not mean you become indifferent to feedback or immune to growth. Rather, you evaluate input through the lens of your purpose rather than adopting every suggestion or internalizing every criticism. The process of establishing and maintaining a firm purpose is itself transformative. It requires self-reflection, which deepens your self-knowledge. It demands regular recommitment, which strengthens your resolve. It invites you to consider how your daily actions align with your deepest values, which naturally encourages more intentional living. Over time, as you consistently choose actions aligned with your purpose, you develop genuine confidence. Not the hollow confidence of external success, but the solid confidence of someone who knows what they stand for and lives accordingly. Your firm purpose becomes like a lighthouse guiding you through fog and darkness. When you cannot see the shore, when circumstances disorient you, that lighthouse remains constant. It reminds you of what matters. It steadies your course. It prevents you from drifting onto rocks. This is the power of establishing a firm purpose in your life. Lesson 2. Guard your mind against external influences. Your mind is your most valuable possession. It is the seat of your judgment, the source of your peace, and the origin of your choices. Yet we live in an age of unprecedented assault on the mind. Advertising, social media, news cycles, and the opinions of others constantly demand your mental attention. Most people treat their minds as if they were public spaces, allowing any thought, suggestion, or influence to take up residence without scrutiny. The Stoics understood that guarding your mind is essential to maintaining inner peace. When someone offends you, it is not their words or actions themselves that cause your suffering. It is your interpretation of those words and actions. Your thoughts about the event determine your emotional response. This means that by carefully managing what you allow into your mental space and how you process information, you gain tremendous power over your inner state. Guarding your mind begins with developing awareness of your thoughts. Most people move through life largely unconscious of the ongoing mental commentary that accompanies every experience. Stoic practice invites you to observe your thinking patterns. When you notice yourself spiraling into worry, ask yourself, is this thought serving me? Is this a judgment based on facts? Or am I adding interpretations that are not warranted? Am I focusing on what I can control or torturing myself about what I cannot? This practice is similar to tending a garden. A garden left untended becomes overgrown with weeds. Similarly, a mind left without intentional cultivation becomes cluttered with anxious thoughts, resentful ruminations, and unfounded worries. You would not allow garbage to accumulate in your home. Do not allow toxic mental patterns to accumulate in your consciousness. Be selective about what you permit to take root in your mind. One practical approach is to establish boundaries around your information intake. Be mindful of what media you consume, which conversations you engage in, and whose opinions you invite into your mental space. This does not mean living in ignorance or avoiding challenging perspectives. Rather, it means being intentional about your exposure. If certain news sources consistently leave you anxious and angry, limit your consumption. If certain people consistently drain your energy or fill your mind with negativity, create some distance. If social media comparisons leave you feeling inadequate, reduce your time there. Simultaneously, actively cultivate positive influences. Read books that expand your thinking and challenge you to grow. Engage in conversations with people who ask good questions and inspire you. Spend time with individuals who support your values and encourage your best self. Seek out stories of people who overcame adversity through resilience and wisdom. When you deliberately populate your mental space with constructive influences, you naturally develop a healthier, more resilient mind. Guarding your mind also involves developing a strong internal anchor, a clear understanding of your values and principles. When you know what you stand for, you become less susceptible to external pressure to compromise. If you have clearly identified your values, then when someone tries to persuade you towards something contradicting those values, you can recognize it as such and make a deliberate choice about whether to accept their influence. Your values become a filter through which you evaluate all incoming information and suggestions. The Stoic practice of mindfulness or meditation directly supports this mental guardianship. These practices train your mind to observe thoughts without immediately accepting them or being swept away by them. You develop what psychologists call metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking. With regular practice, you create space between stimulus and response. Someone says something critical, but instead of immediately reacting with defensiveness or shame, you notice the thought, observe your emotional reaction, and then choose your response consciously. Another aspect of guarding your mind is cultivating a growth mindset. When you encounter difficulties, your interpretation of those difficulties determines much about how you experience them. If you view challenges as threats, you experience fear and avoidance. If you view them as opportunities to develop capability and strength, you experience engagement and even excitement. By consciously reframing obstacles as chances to grow, you transform your relationship with adversity. Your mind becomes a source of resilience rather than a source of suffering. Finally, recognize that guarding your mind is not about achieving perfect thought control or eliminating negative thoughts entirely. This is neither possible nor healthy. Rather, it is about developing a relationship with your thoughts where you are the observer and evaluator rather than the helpless victim of whatever thoughts arise. It is about recognizing which thoughts serve your well-being and which ones do not, and gently directing your attention accordingly. This ongoing practice transforms your inner life from a chaotic storm into something more resembling a garden you actively tend. Lesson 3. Detach from others' opinions. One of the most liberating realizations in Stoic philosophy is this: other people's opinions of you are not your responsibility, and they are not your concern. This does not mean you should become indifferent to how your actions affect others or immune to valuable feedback. Rather, it means recognizing a crucial boundary where other people's judgments end and your own character begins. Epictetus taught that we cannot control what others think of us. We cannot control whether they misunderstand our intentions, judge us unfairly, or simply dislike us for reasons beyond our comprehension. What we can control is our own character, our integrity, our efforts, and our alignment with our values. This distinction is profoundly important. Consider how much suffering people create for themselves by becoming enslaved to others' opinions. Someone criticizes your work, and you spiral into self-doubt. A friend seems distant, and you torment yourself imagining what you did wrong. You post something on social media, and you obsessively check for likes and comments. A family member disapproves of your life choices, and you feel perpetually defensive. In each case, you have handed your peace over to someone else's judgment. You have made your inner calm dependent on their approval. The first step in detaching from others' opinions is developing a clear understanding of yourself. When you have a strong sense of who you are, your values, your capabilities, your intentions, criticism from others loses much of its sting. If you know you are acting according to your conscience and your principles, negative judgments from others become less significant. They may sting temporarily, but they do not penetrate to your core because your core is anchored in your own assessment of your character, not in others' assessments. This self-knowledge requires honest self-reflection. You must ask yourself, what do I actually believe about myself, independent of what others think? What are my genuine strengths and legitimate areas for growth? What matters most to me? When you have answered these questions thoughtfully, you have created an internal reference point. You can then evaluate feedback from others through the lens of this self-knowledge. Sometimes feedback will be valuable and worth integrating. Sometimes it will be inaccurate or based on misunderstanding, and you can set it aside without it affecting your sense of self. Another powerful practice is to recognize that people's criticisms often reveal more about them than about you. Someone may criticize you harshly because of their own insecurities, frustrations, or limited understanding. Their criticism might stem from their own pain rather than from any actual flaw in you. By recognizing this, you can depersonalize their judgment. You can respond with compassion to their suffering without accepting their judgment as truth about you. Developing resilience against others' opinions also involves understanding that not all feedback deserves equal weight. Some people are wise and see clearly. Their observations are worth considering carefully. Others are biased, limited in perspective, or motivated by jealousy or resentment. Their judgments deserve less weight. You develop wisdom by learning to distinguish between these sources and to weigh feedback accordingly. You can be open to learning without being enslaved to others' assessments. The practice of detaching from others' opinions does not mean becoming callous or indifferent to relationships. On the contrary, when you are not desperately seeking others' approval, you can actually connect with them more authentically. You can listen to what they say without the filter of, how will this affect their opinion of me? You can be honest about your thoughts and feelings without performing a version of yourself designed to win approval. This authenticity actually strengthens relationships. Practically speaking, notice when you are making decisions or shaping your behavior primarily to win approval from others. Are you choosing a career path because it genuinely aligns with your values, or because it impresses people? Are you staying in a relationship because it serves you, or because you fear judgment if you leave? Are you maintaining a certain image because it reflects your true self, or because you fear others' disapproval if you let it go? Whenever you notice you are primarily motivated by others' opinions, pause and reconnect with your own values and judgment. Over time, as you practice detaching from others' opinions, while simultaneously working to develop genuine integrity and wisdom, something remarkable happens. You develop a quiet confidence that does not depend on constant validation. You become less reactive to criticism and less elated by praise. You develop what the Stoics called equanimity, a balanced, stable state of mind that is not easily disturbed by external events, including others' judgments. This is genuine freedom. Lesson 4. Transform offense into growth. In any given day, you will encounter countless opportunities to take offense. Someone will say something thoughtless. A person will misinterpret your intentions. You will feel slighted or disrespected. In these moments, most people follow an automatic pattern. They feel hurt, they become defensive, they either retaliate or nurse a grudge. The Stoic approach offers a radically different path. The key insight is this: your emotional reaction to an offense is not caused by the offense itself, but by your judgment about the offense. The words spoken are just sounds. The action taken is just behavior. Your interpretation, your story about what these words and actions mean, is what generates your emotional response. This is liberating, because it means you have the power to transform your experience by transforming your judgment. When someone offends you, your immediate reaction is usually emotional: hurt, anger, shame, or indignation. The Stoic practice invites you to pause before acting on this reaction. Create a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lies your freedom and your power. Ask yourself, what exactly happened? What story am I telling myself about what this means? Is this story necessarily true? What would a wise person do in this situation? One powerful technique is cognitive reframing. When you feel offended, try to examine the situation from a different angle. Instead of focusing exclusively on how you were hurt, ask yourself what you might learn from this experience. If a friend criticizes your life choices rather than immediately becoming defensive, consider whether their observation contains any useful insight. You need not agree with them entirely, but can you extract anything valuable? Perhaps their criticism, delivered clumsily, points to a genuine area where you could grow. This practice transforms offense into an opportunity for development. Each offense becomes a test of your character and your equanimity. Each time you choose not to retaliate, each time you respond with wisdom rather than reactivity, you are strengthening your inner strength. You are training yourself to respond rather than react, to choose your values rather than follow your impulses. This is the essence of character development. Empathy is another powerful tool for transforming offense. When someone offends you, try to imagine what might be driving their behavior. Are they struggling with something in their own life? Are they acting from a place of fear or pain? This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it provides context that can help you respond with compassion rather than anger. When you understand that the person who offended you is also human, also struggling, also imperfect, it becomes easier to release your resentment and respond with grace. Forgiveness is central to this transformation. Holding on to offense and resentment only harms you. It is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. By choosing to forgive, not necessarily to condone the behavior, but to release your attachment to the grudge, you free yourself. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It allows you to move forward unburdened by resentment, with your energy and attention available for what truly matters. The practice of transforming offense also teaches you something profound about your own fragility and resilience. You discover that offenses, which seem enormous in the moment, gradually lose their power. The wounds that felt devastating begin to heal. The person who hurt you eventually becomes less significant in your life. This realization is liberating. It teaches you not to take offense so seriously, to hold your hurt more lightly, and to trust in your capacity to recover and move forward. Over time, as you practice this transformation regularly, your entire relationship with offense changes. You become less easily offended because you recognize that your peace does not depend on others treating you perfectly. You become more resilient because you have repeatedly demonstrated to yourself that you can encounter offense and choose a wise response. You become more compassionate
because you have repeatedly chosen to understand rather than judge. This is genuine growth. When you transform offense through the lens of Stoicism, you are not becoming weak or allowing yourself to be treated poorly. Rather, you are becoming stronger. You are developing the strength to respond wisely rather than react emotionally. You are building resilience that nothing external can shake. You are freeing yourself from dependence on others' behavior for your own peace. This is the true strength that Stoicism teaches us to cultivate. Lesson 5. Release fear and shame. Fear and shame are two of the most constraining emotions humans experience. They keep us small, play it safe, avoid risks, and hide parts of ourselves. Yet both fear and shame are rooted in our judgments about situations and ourselves, which means both can be transformed through Stoic practice. Epictetus taught that what frightens us is not events themselves, but our judgments about events. Fear does not live in circumstances, it lives in our interpretation of circumstances. When you become anxious about public speaking, you're not actually reacting to the act of speaking. You're reacting to thoughts about being judged, making mistakes, or being humiliated. The actual event is neutral. Your thoughts about it generate the fear. This insight offers a pathway to freedom. To overcome fear, you must first identify it clearly. What exactly are you afraid of? Break it down into specific concerns. Often, when you examine fear closely, it loses much of its power. Someone anxious about public speaking might realize their fear breaks down into concerns about forgetting what to say, looking foolish, or being judged harshly. When you examine each concern separately, you often realize that none of them are truly catastrophic. Forgetting what to say happens to every speaker, and the world does not end. Looking foolish is temporary, and most people are focused on their own concerns anyway. Being judged harshly might happen, but is that actually a threat to your survival or your core worth? The Stoic response to fear is to face it directly rather than avoid it. Avoidance strengthens fear by reinforcing the message that the feared situation is truly dangerous and should be avoided. Gradually exposing yourself to fear-inducing situations, on the other hand, builds confidence and demonstrates that you can handle what you feared. Each time you do the thing you feared and survive it, you chip away at the fear. Over time, through repeated exposure and successful coping, the fear becomes manageable. Another powerful practice is to mentally rehearse facing your fear. Visualize yourself encountering the feared situation and handling it successfully. If you fear public speaking, visualize yourself giving a presentation, making a mistake, recovering, and completing it well. By mentally rehearsing success, you prime your mind and body to actually succeed when the moment comes. Shame operates differently from fear, though both limit us. Shame is the belief that you yourself are fundamentally flawed or unworthy. It often stems from past mistakes, societal messages, or traumatic experiences. Unlike guilt, which is about something you did, shame is about who you are. This makes shame particularly pernicious because it attacks your sense of self-worth. The Stoic approach to shame begins with self-compassion and acceptance. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has areas of weakness or limitation. Everyone has done things they regret. This is not a personal failing. It is part of the human condition. By recognizing this, you can separate your actions from your worth as a person. You can regret something you did without believing you are fundamentally bad. The practice of transforming shame involves facing it directly and extracting its lessons. If you feel ashamed of a past mistake, confront that shame rather than burying it. Reflect on what you did, why you did it, and what you have learned. How has this experience changed you? In what ways have you grown since then? By extracting meaning from the experience, you transform shame from a source of self-loathing into a source of hard-won wisdom. Self-forgiveness is crucial in releasing shame.
You must eventually grant yourself the same compassion you would offer a friend who made a similar mistake. Holding on to shame keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-criticism and low self-worth. By forgiving yourself, not excusing the mistake, but acknowledging it, learning from it, and releasing your self-condemnation, you free yourself to move forward with renewed commitment to your values. Both fear and shame thrive in isolation. Sharing your fears and feelings of shame with trusted people can be profoundly healing. Often, you will discover that others have faced similar challenges, that your fear or shame is not unique or shameful in itself. This shared humanity helps diminish the power these emotions hold over you. Community and support are powerful antidotes to both fear and shame. By reaching out and connecting with others, you create the conditions for genuine healing and transformation. Lesson 6. Anticipate obstacles with wisdom. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, is not about pessimism or expecting the worst. Rather, it is about realistic preparation. By mentally rehearsing potential difficulties, you build mental resilience and reduce the shock of encountering obstacles. When you anticipate obstacles, you are not caught off guard when they appear. You have already considered how you might respond. You have developed mental flexibility to adapt your plans. This preparation itself builds confidence because you know you have thought through potential challenges rather than being blindly optimistic and unprepared. Consider the practical application. Before an important meeting, anticipate what might go wrong. Technical difficulties might occur. Difficult questions might be asked. You might become nervous. By envisioning these possibilities and considering your response in advance, you prepare yourself mentally. You might bring backup technology. You might prepare additional information to address tough questions. You might practice relaxation techniques to manage nervousness. This preparation does not make the meeting fail. It makes you more capable of handling whatever arises. The practice of anticipating obstacles also cultivates flexibility. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned, and rigid expectations lead to disappointment and stress. By acknowledging that things may not go as expected, you develop the mental flexibility to adjust your approach as circumstances change. This adaptability is a hallmark of resilient people. They hold their plans lightly enough to modify them when reality demands it, yet firmly enough to persist toward their goals. Importantly, while anticipating obstacles, maintain a balanced perspective. Yes, acknowledge potential difficulties, but also recognize your strengths, resources, and past successes. If you have overcome challenges before, you can likely overcome them again. If you have skills and knowledge relevant to the situation, you have resources to draw on. If you have people who support you, you are not alone. This balanced view prevents anticipation of obstacles from becoming anxiety or despair. Anticipating obstacles also develops patience and perseverance. When you know that challenges are inevitable, not as pessimism, but as realistic acknowledgement of how life works, you develop a long-term perspective. You recognize that setbacks are part of the journey, not signs that you should give up. You become more patient with the process because you understand that difficulty is part of any worthwhile endeavor. By mentally preparing yourself, you develop the resilience needed to persist. Lesson 7. Master your inner responses. The foundation of Stoic philosophy rests on a simple yet profound truth. Your true power lies not in altering external circumstances, but in mastering your inner responses to those circumstances. This is where genuine freedom originates. External events will happen that you did not choose and cannot control. People will act in ways that hurt you. Plans will fall apart. Disappointments will arrive uninvited. The loss of these situations is not your power, but your response to these situations, your thoughts, your judgments, your choices about how to move forward, is entirely within your domain. This is where your true power lies. Consider the example of receiving harsh criticism. You cannot control whether someone criticizes you harshly. You cannot control whether their words are fair or unfair, informed or ignorant. But you can control how you receive that criticism. You can choose to respond defensively or openly. You can choose to examine it for any grain of truth or dismiss it entirely. You can choose to let it damage your confidence or to let it bounce off your sense of self-worth. Your response is yours to choose. The practice of mastering inner responses begins with self-awareness. You must become aware of your automatic reactions, your habitual patterns of thinking, emotion, and behavior. When certain things happen, how do you typically respond? What triggers set you off? What patterns do you notice in your reactions? This awareness is the first step toward change because you cannot change what you do not notice. The second step is to recognize the gap between stimulus and response. This is what Viktor Frankl, drawing on Stoic principles, called the last of human freedoms. The freedom to choose your response, even when your circumstances are constrained. There is always a moment, however brief, between something happening and your response to it. In that moment lies your power. By developing awareness of that moment, you can expand it. You can create space to think, to consider your values, to choose your response deliberately rather than reacting automatically. Practical techniques like mindfulness and meditation directly support this capacity. Through regular practice, you train your mind to observe your thoughts and emotions without immediately accepting them or being swept away by them. You develop the ability to notice when you are about to react automatically and to pause instead. This pause allows you to choose a response that aligns with your values rather than your impulses. Another powerful technique is to clearly identify what is within your control and what is not. Write a list of things you are anxious or upset about. For each item, ask, is this within my control? If it is, then focus your energy on taking effective action. If it is not, then release it. This simple practice can dramatically reduce stress because you stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable and instead focus on what you can actually influence. Mastering inner responses also involves developing what is called emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize your emotions, understand their origins, and manage them effectively. You do not suppress emotions. You acknowledge them while maintaining the freedom to choose your actions. You can feel angry without acting on that anger. You can feel afraid without letting that fear dictate your choices. You can feel disappointed without spiraling into despair. This mastery is not achieved overnight. It is a practice, a discipline, a commitment to showing up repeatedly and choosing your response consciously. But over time, as you practice, it becomes more natural. You develop genuine freedom, not freedom from difficulties, but freedom in how you meet difficulties. This is the power that no external circumstance can take from you. The more you practice this skill, the more you realize that your reactions are not inevitable. They are choices. And once you recognize that they are choices, you become empowered to make different ones. You start noticing patterns in your reactions, understanding what triggers them, and consciously choosing alternatives. You develop a flexibility in your responses that makes you more resilient and more capable of handling life's challenges with grace and wisdom. Lesson 8. Restrain your actions. Understanding that your inner responses are within your control is one thing. Actually restraining your immediate impulses and choosing considered action is another. This lesson is about the practice of self-restraint, of pausing before acting and making deliberate choices rather than following automatic impulses. Consider the moment when someone says something that angers you. Your immediate impulse might be to lash out verbally, to respond with sarcasm, to retreat in wounded silence, or to launch into accusation. In that moment, you have a choice. You can follow your impulse, or you can restrain yourself The Stoic practice is to create space between the impulse and the action by pausing and considering what response would best serve your values and your goals. Self-restraint is not about suppressing emotions or pretending you do not feel them. It is about acknowledging your feelings while making a conscious choice about whether to act on them. You might feel furious, but you choose not to yell. You might feel like quitting, but you choose to persevere. You might feel like sleeping in, but you choose to get up and pursue your goals. These small acts of restraint, practiced repeatedly, build tremendous inner strength. One practical approach to developing restraint is to delay gratification. Our modern world is designed to encourage immediate gratification, immediate responses to impulses, immediate consumption, immediate action. The Stoic practice counters this by encouraging you to pause before gratifying desires. When you want something, wait before getting it. When you want to respond emotionally, wait before responding. This waiting creates space for wisdom to emerge. Another powerful practice is to speak carefully and deliberately. Before speaking, consider whether your words are true, necessary, and kind. This simple filter, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Can transform your relationships and prevent countless regretted statements. By restraining your speech, you protect relationships and maintain alignment with your values. Restraint also involves making deliberate decisions rather than following impulses. In any given situation, you have choices. By pausing and considering these choices through the lens of your values and long-term goals, you make better decisions. Instead of impulsively spending money you should save, you pause and consider your financial goals. Instead of impulsively overcommitting, you pause and consider your time and energy. Instead of impulsively reacting to a provocation, you pause and consider what response would best serve your character and relationships. The practice of acting according to reason rather than impulse is central to Stoicism. Reason here does not mean cold logic divorced from values. Rather, it means thoughtful consideration of situations in light of your values, your goals, and the likely consequences of your actions. It means accessing the part of your mind that steps back and sees the bigger picture, rather than the part that reacts emotionally to immediate circumstances. Creating structured systems that support restraint is also powerful. If you struggle with overspending, use cash instead of credit cards so you physically feel your money leaving. If you struggle with excessive social media use, remove the apps from your phone. If you struggle with poor sleep due to late-night internet browsing, keep devices out of your bedroom. By creating environmental structures that make restraint easier, you set yourself up for success. Developing awareness of your particular impulses and triggers is essential. What situations tend to provoke your automatic reactions? When do you tend to act without thinking? What people or circumstances pull you toward behavior misaligned with your values? By becoming aware of your patterns, you can prepare for them. You can anticipate challenging situations and plan in advance how you will respond thoughtfully rather than automatically. Practice saying no to requests that do not align with your values or capacity. Many people struggle with restraint around commitments and requests from others. By practicing saying no, you build the muscle of restraint. Each time you say no to something that would pull you away from your true priorities, you say yes to your actual values. This becomes easier with practice as you recognize that protecting your time and energy is not selfish, but necessary. Over time, the practice of restraint becomes easier. Your automatic impulses begin to change as your values become more ingrained. You develop new habits of pause and reflection. You build confidence in your ability to choose your actions deliberately. And you experience the freedom that comes from knowing that your actions reflect your considered values rather than momentary impulses. This is the power of genuine restraint. Lesson 9. Cultivate acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood as passive resignation or giving up. In Stoic philosophy, Acceptance is actually a powerful stance that enables effective action. It means acknowledging reality as it is, rather than exhausting yourself, resisting what cannot be changed. When you resist reality, you create suffering. If you lose your job and you spend weeks in denial, refusing to acknowledge what happened, you have wasted weeks that could have been spent taking constructive action. If you experience an illness and you rage against the fact that you got sick, rather than accepting it and adapting your life accordingly, you add mental suffering to physical suffering. Acceptance does not mean you like these circumstances. It means you acknowledge them clearly so you can respond effectively. The practice of acceptance begins with recognizing what has actually happened, not what you wish had happened, not what should have happened, but what actually occurred. This clear-eyed assessment is the foundation for effective action. Once you accept a situation as real, you can focus your energy on what you can do about it, rather than wasting energy on wishing things were different. Acceptance also involves letting go of perfectionism. Many of us are driven by impossible standards, believing we should always perform flawlessly, maintain perfect relationships, achieve perfect health, make perfect decisions. This relentless pursuit of perfection creates perpetual dissatisfaction and stress. By accepting that perfection is unattainable, you can appreciate your genuine efforts and progress. You can celebrate what you accomplish, rather than focusing only on what falls short of your impossible standard. Gratitude is a powerful practice that deepens acceptance. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, your perspective shifts from scarcity to abundance. By regularly acknowledging what you appreciate in your life, even small things like a good meal or a moment of peace, you reinforce acceptance and contentment. Gratitude helps you see that even imperfect circumstances contain good elements worth acknowledging and celebrating. Acceptance extends to your relationships as well. You cannot control or change other people. You can only change yourself. When you accept people as they are, with all their strengths and limitations, you can build more authentic and fulfilling relationships. This does not mean tolerating harmful behavior, but it does mean releasing the fantasy that other people will be different than they are. By accepting them as they are, you reduce conflict and resentment and create space for genuine connection and mutual growth. The practice of acceptance also involves accepting the natural cycles of life. Just as seasons change, so too do our lives move through phases of growth, stability, challenge, and renewal. By accepting these cycles as natural rather than resisting them, you navigate transitions with greater grace. You recognize that difficulty is temporary, that what is gained will also be lost, that change is constant. This acceptance creates resilience because you are not constantly shocked or disappointed by the natural unfolding of life. Through acceptance, you free significant mental and emotional energy that was previously spent resisting reality. This freed energy can be directed toward constructive action, toward relationships, toward growth, toward what truly matters. Acceptance is not passive. It is the foundation for wise, effective action. When you stop fighting what is real, you can work effectively with what actually exists. This is the paradox of acceptance. By accepting what you cannot change, you become more capable of changing what you can. Think of acceptance as creating a clear lens through which to view your life. When you are not looking through the fog of denial, resentment, or wishful thinking, you can see your situation clearly. You can identify what actions are actually available to you. You can distinguish between what deserves your energy and effort and what simply needs to be acknowledged and released. This clarity leads to more effective action and greater peace. When you cultivate acceptance as a practice, you also develop patience with yourself and others. You recognize that growth takes time, that change is gradual, that perfection is not the goal. You become more forgiving of yourself for not meeting impossible standards. You become more compassionate toward others who are also struggling and imperfect. This patience creates a gentler, more humane way of moving through the world. Acceptance is the gateway to equanimity, that stable, unshakable peace that the Stoics cultivated. When you have accepted what is real and what is within your control, you can stop wasting emotional energy on resistance and denial. You can focus your attention and effort on meaningful action. You can focus your attention and effort on meaningful action. You can maintain inner peace even in challenging circumstances because your peace no longer depends on circumstances being exactly as you wish they were. Your peace rests on a foundation of clear-eyed acceptance. Lesson 10. Live according to nature and reason. The Stoics taught that happiness comes from living according to nature, both your human nature and the nature of the universe. This does not mean living like animals or rejecting civilization. Rather, it means recognizing your place in the world and acting in accordance with your rational and social nature. Understanding your rational nature means recognizing that reason is your distinctive human capacity. Other animals live by instinct. Humans have the capacity for reason, reflection, and deliberate choice. Living according to nature means developing and exercising this capacity. It means making choices based on thoughtful consideration of your values and long-term goals, rather than following every impulse or societal pressure. Recognizing your social nature means acknowledging that you are fundamentally connected to others and dependent on community. Humans evolved as social beings. We are designed for connection and cooperation. Living according to nature means recognizing your interdependence with others and contributing to the well-being of your community. It means practicing compassion, justice, and cooperation rather than viewing others purely as competitors or obstacles. Living according to nature also involves cultivating the cardinal virtues that the Stoics identified as the highest good: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom involves seeing things clearly and making good decisions. Courage involves facing difficulty and taking right action despite fear. Justice involves treating others fairly and contributing to the common good. Temperance involves maintaining balance and self-control. By developing these virtues, you live in accordance with your highest nature. The practice also involves recognizing and accepting the natural cycles of life. You are born, you grow, you age, you die. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. Sometimes you have abundance, and sometimes you have scarcity. By accepting these cycles as natural rather than viewing them as personal failures or unjust, you develop equanimity. You recognize that what rises will fall, what is gained will be lost. And this is not a tragedy, but the nature of existence. Living according to nature includes living simply and focusing on what truly matters. Strip away the excess, the unnecessary possessions, the time-consuming distractions, the relationships that do not genuinely serve you. Focus your energy on your core values, your genuine relationships, your authentic growth. By simplifying your life, you create space for what truly matters, and you reduce the clutter that clouds your vision and drains your energy. Environmental consciousness is also part of living according to nature. As part of the natural world, you have a responsibility to care for it. This involves making sustainable choices, reducing waste, and respecting the delicate balance of ecosystems. By living in an environmentally conscious way, you honor your connection to nature and contribute to the well-being of future generations. You recognize that you are not separate from nature, but part of it, and your actions affect the whole system. Ultimately, living according to nature means integrating yourself into something larger than yourself. It means recognizing that you are part of an interconnected web of life, and that your actions affect this larger whole. It means finding meaning and purpose in contributing to something beyond your individual desires. This shift in perspective, from seeing yourself as separate to recognizing yourself as part of a greater whole, is profoundly transformative and liberating. When you live according to nature and reason, you align yourself with the fundamental structure of reality. You stop fighting against the way things are and start working with them. You develop a sense of purpose that transcends your individual wants. You find peace in knowing that you are living in accordance with your true nature and the nature of the universe. This alignment is the source of genuine fulfillment and lasting peace that no external circumstance can disturb or diminish. Lesson 11. Achieve unshakable tranquility. The ultimate goal of Stoic practice is not the absence of difficulty. That is impossible. Rather, it is the achievement of genuine inner peace, what the Stoics called ataraxia, a state of tranquility that is not disturbed by external circumstances. This tranquility is not the result of having a perfect life where nothing goes wrong. Many people wait for perfect circumstances to finally feel peaceful. After they get the right job, the right relationship, the right home, the right amount of money, they are always waiting for circumstances to be perfect before they allow themselves to be peaceful. This is fundamentally misguided. The Stoic path teaches that tranquility comes from how you relate to circumstances, not from the circumstances themselves. Genuine tranquility emerges when you have applied the lessons we have discussed. It comes from establishing a firm purpose that guides you regardless of circumstances. It comes from guarding your mind against negative influences and cultivating wisdom. It comes from releasing attachment to others' opinions and not making your peace dependent on their approval. It comes from transforming offense into growth and facing fear and shame directly. Tranquility comes from restraining your actions according to your values, accepting what you cannot control, and living according to nature. It comes from the knowledge that your true power lies not in controlling external circumstances, but in maintaining control over your thoughts, judgments, and responses. When you have aligned your actions with your values and you are doing what you can release anxiety about outcomes. You have done what is within your power. The rest is not your responsibility. This tranquility is not indifference or apathy. It is not ceasing to care about meaningful things. Rather, it is caring deeply about what matters while maintaining equanimity about outcomes. You can work toward important goals with full commitment while accepting that you cannot control whether you achieve them. You can love people deeply while accepting that you cannot control their choices or keep them safe from all suffering. You can pursue excellence while accepting that perfection is impossible. Part 22, 5,000 characters. Achieving this tranquility requires consistent practice. It is not a permanent state you reach and then maintain effortlessly. Rather, it is something you must continually cultivate through the daily practice of Stoic principles. Each morning, you recommit to your firm purpose and your values. Throughout the day, you notice when you are clinging to things outside your control and gently redirect your focus to what is within your power. Each evening, you reflect on where you succeeded in maintaining your equanimity and where you fell into reactivity. Over time, as you practice these principles consistently, tranquility becomes more natural. Your mind becomes more resilient and less easily disturbed. You develop what might be called a quiet confidence, not arrogance, but genuine confidence in your ability to handle whatever life brings. You become genuinely less susceptible to external circumstances because your peace is rooted in internal factors that remain under your control. This tranquility is available to you regardless of your external circumstances. A person living in poverty can achieve it. Someone facing serious illness can achieve it. A person dealing with difficult relationships can achieve it. The achievement does not depend on having a perfect life. It depends on adopting the right relationship to life, whatever your specific circumstances happen to be. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius faced political intrigue and military threats, yet he maintained equanimity through his practice. Epictetus faced slavery and physical torture, yet he achieved remarkable peace and wisdom. Their examples show that tranquility is not dependent on fortunate circumstances, but on the consistent practice of Stoic principles. This tranquility is available to you right now, regardless of what you are facing. When you achieve this unshakable tranquility, you discover that you have gained something far more valuable than any external possession or achievement. You have gained inner freedom. You have discovered that nothing external can dictate your inner state unless you allow it to. You have found the source of genuine happiness that does not depend on fortune or fate, but on your own character and choices. This is the ultimate promise of Stoicism. Lesson 12. The integration and your path forward. As we conclude our 12 lessons, it is important to recognize that Stoicism is not a collection of disconnected principles, but an integrated philosophy where each element supports and reinforces the others. Your firm purpose connects to guarding your mind. Your mental clarity supports detaching from others' opinions. Your freedom from external validation helps you transform offense into growth. Each principle strengthens the others in a synergistic system. When you have a clear, firm purpose, you can more easily release attachment to outcomes you cannot control. When you guard your mind against negative influences, you become more resilient to fear and shame. When you detach from others' opinions, you can more authentically pursue your purpose. When you transform offense into growth, you develop stronger character. When you master your inner responses, you can restrain your actions more effectively. When you practice acceptance, you can live according to nature more fully. The practices work together synergistically to create genuine tranquility and inner strength. The synthesis also means understanding that these lessons are not merely theoretical knowledge, but practices to be lived. Knowing about Stoicism without practicing it is like reading a cookbook without ever cooking. The transformation happens not from intellectual understanding, but from consistent application. Your commitment to practicing these principles, even imperfectly, even when you do not feel like it, is what creates genuine change in your life. Start with one principle that resonates most deeply with you. Commit to practicing it for the coming week. Observe its effects on your life. Notice how your mind responds. Pay attention to how your relationships change. Observe your emotional reactions and your equanimity. Then add another principle. Gradually, as you integrate these teachings into your daily life, you will notice cumulative changes. You will feel less anxious. You will feel less reactive. You will feel more authentic. You will feel more resilient. This is the path forward. It is not a path of perfection, where you never feel angry or sad or frustrated again. Rather, it is a path of wisdom, where you relate to these emotions differently. You feel them, you acknowledge them, but you do not let them dictate your actions. You remain grounded in your values and your purpose. You maintain your equanimity even when circumstances are difficult. This is the promise and the practice of Stoicism. Conclusion: your power awaits. We have journeyed together through 12 essential lessons from Stoic philosophy. From establishing a firm purpose to achieving genuine tranquility, each principle offers a practical tool for transforming how you experience your life. But reading about these principles is not enough. The real transformation comes through practice, through consistently applying these teachings to your everyday life. The most important insight to take from this exploration is this: true power does not lie in controlling the world around you or in having perfect circumstances. True power lies in your capacity to master your own mind, to choose your responses, to align your actions with your values, and to maintain equanimity regardless of what happens. This power is always available to you. No circumstance can take it away. The Stoics understood something that remains powerfully relevant in our modern world. In a time when so much seems chaotic and beyond our control, they offer a path to genuine peace, not through retreating from the world, but through engaging with it wisely. They show that freedom is possible, even in circumstances that seem constraining. They demonstrate that peace is available even in a difficult world. This ancient wisdom has guided people for over 2,000 years, and it can guide you as well. Your journey with these principles begins now. Choose one principle that resonates most deeply with you and commit to practicing it for the coming week. Notice its effects on your life. Then add another principle. Gradually, as you integrate these teachings into your daily life, you will notice changes. You will feel less anxious because you are focusing on what you control rather than what you cannot control. You will feel less reactive because you are pausing before responding. You will feel more authentic because you are living according to your actual values rather than others' expectations. You will feel more resilient because you are consistently choosing responses aligned with your character. This is the promise of Stoicism, not the elimination of difficulty, but the transformation of your relationship to difficulty, not the removal of suffering, but the removal of unnecessary suffering caused by your judgments and attachments, not the achievement of a perfect life, but the achievement of a life lived with integrity, wisdom, and peace. This is available to you starting today. The ancient Stoics faced challenges every bit as significant as those we face today. Marcus Aurelius faced political intrigue and military threats as Emperor of Rome. Epictetus faced slavery and physical torture, and later poverty and exile. Zeno founded the Stoic school after losing his fortune in a shipwreck. Yet all of them achieved remarkable equanimity and wisdom. They did not achieve this through fortunate circumstances, but through the consistent practice of philosophical principles. Their example shows that what they achieved is available to all of us, regardless of our circumstances. As you close this exploration and return to your life, remember this: you do not control most of what happens to you, and that is actually your superpower. Within that fundamental acceptance lies genuine freedom. The world will continue to bring challenges, disappointments, and unexpected events. People will continue to act in ways you cannot control. Plans will continue to crumble. But you now have tools to meet these challenges with wisdom, to transform disappointments into growth, and to maintain your inner peace regardless of circumstances. This is the gift that Stoic philosophy offers. Begin today. Choose one principle. Take one action aligned with that principle. Notice the effect. Then continue. The transformation of your inner life, and through it, the transformation of your entire experience, is available to you right now. You have the knowledge. You have the tools. What remains is the practice. What remains is your commitment to showing up day after day and choosing wisdom over reaction, principle over impulse, and peace over struggle. The Stoic path is not easy, but it is simple. It requires discipline, but it is not punitive. It requires consistent practice, but it is not burdensome. Rather, it is liberating. With each principle you practice, you feel more free. With each response you choose, consciously, you feel more powerful. With each attachment you release, you feel more peaceful. This is the path that awaits you. May these 12 lessons guide you toward a life of genuine peace, resilience, and fulfillment. May you discover the unshakable tranquility that comes from mastering your own mind. May you experience the freedom that comes from recognizing what you can and cannot control. May you develop the wisdom to live according to your values and your nature. And may you find, in the midst of life's inevitable challenges, the inner strength that no external circumstance can diminish or destroy. This is your superpower. This is your path. Begin now.